Hey guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the summer camp process. Today we'll be focusing on the application portion of the process. Now, the very first thing that you do when you start to apply for Camp America is fill out a general application form that gets a bit more information about you. Now, there's a number of ways to find out about going to camp in America. The way I found out was a group came to my university, they set up a table, I went and spoke to them and they gave me some more information about the camp. There's a number of different companies that do this, including CCUSA, that's who I went with. There's a group called Camp America, there's a group called Camp Leaders. There's loads of groups that you can go with, and they all have kind of different perks. I found that working with CCUSA was really smooth, and that's who I went with all the years that I went to camp. And the application form will just kind of ask you general things, you know, your date of birth, your age, but there's some really important things that it asks you in there. So one of the things that it asks you is what kind of camp you want to work at. The first type of camp I would talk about is a non-profit camp. That's really easy for me to talk about because that's the type of camp that I worked at. A non-profit camp is just a camp that they don't actually make any money. All the money that they make goes back into the camp, and you know, a lot of their money is spent on helping scholarship kids to come to camp and make sure that their child can have the same experience as every other child. Some of the other camps, there's for-profits, which is kind of the opposite. They're making money. Parents tend to pay full amounts for their kids to come. There's all girls camps, there's all boys camps. And then there's kind of like specialty camps that are, you know, maybe like a sport, you know, like a football camp or a basketball camp. And there's religious camps. There's really loads of different things out there, and you'll see them all in the application. It's really important that you kind of, because you have to number what is your preference. If you have no idea, I'd maybe recommend doing some research on some of them online. I can say from my experience, I loved working at a non-profit camp. I felt it was really rewarding, and it was great to see some kids that you would never think interact together, getting a chance to interact. Whatever company you decide to go with, they make it really easy for you to know where you are in the application stage. You'll apply with them, you'll log on, and it has a checklist of exactly what you need to do. After you've filled out the application form and sent it away, they'll get back in contact with you. And now usually you'll do an interview. Now this isn't an interview with a camp. This is an interview with a representative from the company you've applied through. So in my case, I met with a representative from CCUSA. And a lot of these reps tend to be previous people that have worked at a camp, usually for at least 2 summers. And you'll go and talk to them and you'll tell them why you want to be part of this process. They're just making sure that you're right to kind of represent their company and making sure that they kind of help you, help guide you to where you want to be. There's nothing to be scared about. I had my interview at a coffee shop. We just sat down and we chatted, and it was really, really nice to get to speak to somebody and get their take on camp. So that very first stage can seem quite daunting. You're going straight into an interview. However, I can assure you it's not. Just be yourself and talk to the person and explain why you want to go to the camp. After you've made it through that stage, essentially you're on the market for camps to look at your profile and decide if they want you to work at their camp. Now what I can say is, for guys, it's a lot easier to get placed. There's always a lack of guys working at summer camps, and guys usually get snapped up pretty quickly. However, that doesn't mean that you don't need to put the same amount of effort into your profile as everyone else does. One of the things I would really recommend on your profile when you're putting in your application is it gives you the option of making a video to tell the camps a little bit about yourself. Now, when I was hiring people, I really focused on people that had videos because you can actually hear them, you can see if they're speaking with passion, and you can kind of get a better idea of who the person is before you decide to talk to them. But what essentially happens is your profile goes on to the websites for the camp employers to look at, and if they're interested, then they'll reserve the right to kind of contact you, and they'll get directly in contact with you. That will usually lead to an interview of some sort. Now, it's not always the case. I would recommend never taking a place at a camp before you've spoken to someone at least over Skype. If they're hiring you directly without having spoken to you, which some camps do, I would take it with a bit of caution. what happened with me was I originally got contacted by a camp. We hadn't spoken over Skype. They'd given me a place, and then suddenly contact kind of fell through. Ended up I didn't have the place. I got put back into the market. Fortunately, Camp Wainoa, a guy called Ben got in contact with me. We interviewed. I had a Skype call. We talked. I kind of found out what the goal for the camp was, and I kind of told him why I was passionate about what I was doing. He kind of gave me an offer there, which I accepted, which was all that it took. So after that stage, the camp kind of takes over. They'll contact the company that you've gone with, and they'll make sure that your place is reserved for you. Again, there's nothing to be nervous about these talks. The camp employers just want to know why you want to do the program. That's really it. They'll probably ask you maybe some weird questions that you've never expected, that you didn't expect to hear, but what they're really just kind of expecting is for you to be able to expect the unexpected and to be able to respond to a situation that you weren't necessarily sure was going to happen. So make sure you stay calm, talk to them about you, and I'm sure that you'll have a great interview when it comes. Hopefully at this point it'll have been smooth sailing for you. It is for most people. And like I said before, the kind of organisation that you go through really helps do a lot of the work for you. After you've been placed at a camp, they'll make sure that you're kind of ready for your interview at the embassy to get your visa. I'm going to focus more on the visa part tomorrow because it's a little bit more complicated. But they'll also book your flights for you, which is part of the cost with the company. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, that's part of the cost that you have to pay. The camp won't pay that for you. But they'll make sure your flights are booked, they'll give you schedules. There's always people there to talk to. You're usually kind of corresponding with a representative that'll help you with the whole process. And like I would always recommend that if you know somebody that's maybe gone through the process, that if you have any questions at all, like ask them, or feel free to reach out to me, ask me any questions that you have. I've been through this whole process and know what it takes, as well as having hired people for the process, so I've got to see it from both sides, being an international. After you've got your visa sorted and you have your flights, you're really ready to go. Your camp will give you a start date. They'll tell you everything that you need to bring with you, so don't be scared about that. And then you're off to America. It really sounds simple the way I'm saying it, but actually is that if you just stay calm and make sure you follow all the steps that are on the website that you're working with. That's all I have for you in episode 2. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you. I'll see you in episode 3 when we'll focus on the visa process. Goodbye.